able to take risks. So my concern about these sort of buyouts goes to the beginning of the whole process. As far as signage, we have plenty of signage. We can easily make a sign and mark these as public space, if it makes sense. I mean, I can see that perhaps it would just be another visual blight. So I guess what I want to ask the person who wrote the question is, what's the purpose? Are we trying to gather public space, and if so, well, let's go about doing that, and hopefully the sign will say public beach.
Thank you. Bo Rollins.
I was against the public buyouts altogether. Living in Galveston, that's a risk you take, especially on your front row. As far as the signage goes, that's just one more thing we have to maintain and we have to oversee. And at this point in time, with the audits that are going on with City Hall, I would not recommend that we take on any more responsibility. So no, I'm not for putting any more signs up. No, I'm not for buyouts. And I would hope that we can remove the signs if we need to.
Thank you. Lewis Rosen.
I am not sure about where the new ERP erosion response plan and the lineage is on these lots. So I'm a little bit confused as to where these are. I know that the front line of the West End property owner accounts for a little over 13% of the city's revenue from property tax. And I'm assuming that this is forward of those property lines, but I'm not sure.
Mr. Roof.
I think two issues are involved here. First of all, these properties, as I understand it, have already been bought out. They are public property, and the public should have access to them. If there is a place where we can put a park for those in the neighborhood, if there's places that are close to the beach where we can give more beach access, not less, I'd be all for that. And so I'd be interested in using those properties in the public's interest. But there's something much more serious going on, and that is has to deal with the Severance case and the area in the beach when we do have erosion due to sudden events. And that is that right now, with that potential private property there, if we have a storm, what I am not in favor of is spending a single dime of your taxpayer dollars on private property on the West End. I want to make sure that your tax dollars go to improve open beaches, like those on the seawall, which I intend to keep open if I'm elected mayor. I want to use your taxpayer dollars for public purposes.
Thank you. Okay, Marnita Harris Banks.
My understanding, the buyouts were through FEMA, and maybe I'm wrong, but that was my understanding, was that the monies came from FEMA for the buyouts. My only concern was that there were folk who were in Central City who could not be part of the buyouts. And I understand the council did that so that there would not be any empty spots in the city. Because once you go into the buyout program, you can't build on that particular property. So I'm not aware of, I know where they are, Bermuda Beach Drive and so forth, but I'm not aware of the concern if FEMA bought them out, then you can't put anything back there anyway.
Thank you, George Woods.
Okay, my position at this particular time, without having researched it, is that if it's public property, then it's public. And it should be accessible to the public. Now, in terms of the buyout, I'm trying to think, it seemed like that once that was occurred, that the land would have to be used for green space. So I would have to do some more study on that. You all don't mind if I do some more study and get back with you later, would you?
This is Fifth Amendment.
Thank you, Elizabeth Beaton.
I tried to stop the buyouts. I was on council when the buyouts went through, and I was unsuccessful. Susan Fenwald and I voted against the buyouts. The other 5 members of council supported them. And the buyouts required the homeowners associations to enter into an agreement with the city, waiving the city's obligation to pay dues to the homeowners associations. And those agreements involve some restrictions on how the city can use those lots. and that varies from agreement to agreement. But subject to that, the city should analyze these lots and see if there are cases where they could be of use to the public, and if so, that we should do everything we can to utilize them that way. They can't be developed in perpetuity, ever, by federal law.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Rozier.
I didn't support the buyouts. I agree that if you buy beachfront property, your property rights are your property rights, but it's not our job to buy your house back from you when it's damaged. And as far as signage, to point out that the property is public now, I think once again that just gets into another issue of maintenance and dealing with something that isn't the highest and best use of the city's resources at this time. But as far as doing something with the properties, I do believe that it should be looked at as to how the properties could be reutilized. And yes, I do understand that it stays undeveloped for perpetuity as well.
Thank you, Cheryl. Tara and Tarleton.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement with this one. I would not have support the buyouts, and again, I agree with everything that's been said, so I'm just repeating it.
Jerry Kinnear.
I also don't support the buyouts. I understand that the property stays unused in its natural state for the rest of its existence or until it goes underwater. And I can't imagine what good signs would do out there. I would prefer to see no signs at all.
Mr. Corona.
No, I do not support the buyout. But I want to go back about talk about the parking issue. I was for the paid parking, but I changed my mind. And part of the reason why I changed my mind was this. I do a lot of research. So I went down to the Park Board of Trustees, and I wanted to know why they'd taken a $250,000 building that could have been placed back on the tax rolls. It was owned by the county. It was owned by Galveston Banker Savings and Loan. But the thing that I discovered was the amount of money we spent on that building, almost with principal and interest, close to $7 million. But I have an information request, so I'll find that and I'll put it out on my blog.
All right, we're going to have one more question before we go to the cleverly named closing remarks. And this one, of course, you've already heard the mayors on this one on several occasions, and the council candidates got this one last time, so I'm going to give it to the council candidates this time. It's a very simple one. Are you for or against the current GHA amended housing plan? Cornelia.
Well, I can stand. That's the reason I was a little late tonight. I was there at GHA meeting, and I am for the new amended GHA plan. I think you heard what the mayor gave the actual statistics, and I can just say yes. It means that it is given something for everyone. It is not. So I think that it behooves everybody to read about it. I don't know if it's going to be in the paper next week, or it has been, but I have the plan right here in front of me. If anybody wants to see me afterwards, I'll be more than happy to show it to you. But yes.
Thank you, Cornelia. Taurus Woods.
Short answer, yes.
Elizabeth Beaton.
Short answer, no.
Cheryl Rozier.
That was my short answer. This is my long answer.
She's a politician.
I used to support a county-wide solution. Now I recognize this long after the storm, it's going to have to be a regional solution. The city simply cannot affirmatively further fair housing as federal law requires, which means that you can't concentrate poverty in low-income census tracts and rebuild 569 public housing units on the island. We should have started at the beginning, talking to the other county municipalities